What did then Prince Charles and Princess Diana's body language say about their relationship? Throughout his time in the spotlight, King Charles has been known for his stoicism, but these telltale signs betrayed his true feelings. Back in the 1970s, well before King Charles III married Princess Diana, he dated Queen Camilla, then known by her maiden name, Camilla Shand. At a polo match in 1972, the two were photographed chatting. Camilla didn't seem to shrink in the presence of the royal, body language expert Judy James said of the photos to Express. Charles, on the other hand, appeared, quote, rather awkward and besotted under her gaze, according to the expert. Charles's positioning in the photo not only shows how infatuated he was with Camilla, but displays just how quickly their relationship blossomed. These days, body language expert Darren Stanton asserts that when he's not around her, Charles is even more awkward and on edge. Stanton told OK magazine, "He tends to get a little stressed when Camilla isn't in his eyeline because she gives him a lot of strength." In 1981, Prince Charles and Princess Diana posed for a photo call at the Balmoral estate. A series of photos were taken of the betrothed couple just 2 months ahead of their summer wedding, and their body language was already pointing to trouble. Body language expert Patty Wood told Reader's Digest, "During the engagement so many years ago, I could already see something wasn't quite right between Prince Charles and Lady Diana." The expert pointed out that Diana's arms and shoulders were stiff, and she diverted her attention away from Charles. And Charles didn't look any more comfortable. Wood went on, "She may be fearful of the cameras, but notice how Prince Charles, who arguably has been getting comfortable with cameras all his life, is also holding his arms stiffly by his side. It's as if these two already know their impending nuptials are a mistake, but they're powerless to do anything about it." When a young King Charles III wed an even younger Diana Spencer, Britain celebrated their seemingly fairy tale wedding. Roughly 1 billion people tuned in to watch the live televised event, and the crowds that gathered outside Buckingham Palace were treated to the famous balcony kiss between the newlyweds. In fact, it was Charles and Diana who started the royal wedding tradition. However, it was during this moment that some were already sensing trouble. Body language expert Patty Wood explained to Reader's Digest that Diana had to reach a good distance to meet Charles's lips, saying, "See how she's doing all the work." The young, new wife was already, quote, bending over backward to please her husband, Wood revealed. While the princess appeared to be putting in the effort, Charles was doing the absolute bare minimum and seemed disconnected from his bride. Not a great sign on one's wedding day. It became even more obvious how lackluster Charles's balcony smooch was when, 5 years later, Charles's younger brother, Prince Andrew, passionately kissed his bride on the balcony of Buckingham Palace. Body language expert Judy James told Express, "Andrew performed a highly sensual kiss with Fergie."
And this was what the crowd was waiting for.
After getting married, King Charles and Princess Diana's relationship quickly devolved. The then prince's ongoing affair with Camilla, along with Diana's own infidelity and her lack of support from the monarchy, turned a bad situation into a full-blown crisis. The couple's relationship troubles were especially evident when they embarked on a royal tour in 1989. During a stop in Indonesia, Charles and Diana sat beside each other as they normally would, but they left a gaping space between them. Body language expert Patty Wood told Reader's Digest that the couple's positioning hinted at just how distant they had become, saying, "His shoulder turned away, his mouth tightly sealed. It's as if Charles was forced by his mum to take this girl he doesn't like to the school dance." Their marriage would end in an infamous divorce in 1996. King Charles III and his late father, Prince Philip, had a historically tense relationship. Royal biographer Penny Junor wrote in her 1988 book, Charles, "They didn't speak to each other as normal father and son." Philip himself even said in 2016, "Charles is a romantic, and I am a pragmatist. That means we do see things differently, and because I don't see things as a romantic would, I'm unfeeling." Given their disjointed relationship, it is no wonder that Charles's body language was off during his father's funeral in 2021. Walking out of beat with the drum playing during the funeral procession, Charles appeared distracted and out of step with his relatives, according to body language expert Louise Mahler. Mahler told The Morning Show, "They had a bang, bang, bang of the march. Anne was immediately in that step, and Charles was out of step, going slower against the rhythm. That took a conscious effort. It did show a dissonance. For me, it sent a message: I don't walk to the beat I'm told to walk to, I will do my own beat. When Queen Elizabeth II died on September 8, 2022, Prince Charles immediately took the throne and became known as His Majesty King Charles III. The Queen's funeral was held after a period of mourning, and the new monarch let his body language do the talking during his attendance. During the singing of God Save the King, the United Kingdom's national anthem, quote, "A slight parting of his, Charles's lips in a horizontal in-breath could be observed," according to communication coach Sonia Beldam. She told The Independent, "It is a sign of grief, which he is controlling brilliantly." Beldam further explained that both Charles and his eldest son, Prince William, kept their composure, saying, "A tiny sign of self-soothing is seen as they rub the top of their swords with their thumbs. This is a mini version of massaging the thumb, which is a pacifying gesture."
Walking behind the coffin, the King, his sister, the Princess Royal.
In 2023, King Charles III and Camilla, Queen Consort, attended the Royal Ascot and became particularly excited as their own horse, Desert Hero, competed. Body language expert Judy James told Express, "These are spontaneous displays from the couple who not only reveal a hidden side to their personalities, but contrasting responses too." James explained that Camilla appeared more competitive. She went on, "Charles is rather gentle in the way he urges his horse on, and it's interesting that a display of more pent-up emotion at the win ended in a rather tearful look." Despite their differing reactions, however, the expert noted that they both used the Royal Ascot as a way to let go of all the stress and anxiety they were experiencing: the death of Queen Elizabeth II and the coronation. When King Charles III spoke to Britain and the Commonwealth for the first time following the death of Queen Elizabeth, he named Prince William and Princess Catherine the Prince and Princess of Wales, respectively. This didn't entirely come as a surprise. However, the King's later mention of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle did, given their frosty relationship with the firm.
I want also to express my love for Harry and Meghan as they continue to build their lives overseas.
Body language expert Judy James told Metro that this version of Charles was different than the more stoic man the public is normally allowed to see. This last reference prompted a pause from Charles, as he looked down in an eye cutoff of what looked like regret and even emerged with what sounded like a small sigh. King Charles III and Prince William have long had a distant relationship. However, with the ostracisation between Harry and William, some, including body language expert Carol Railton, have argued that William and Charles's bond has significantly improved. This was clear during the King's coronation. Railton told the Daily Mail, "When William was in front of him, he looked emotional to me. Charles is blinking a lot, showing a bit of stress for sure. He also appears tired, and the previous deep breath gives notice that he is refreshing himself, getting back in step. He sat on the edge of his seat, showing that he is excited about what is going on, even thrilled."
I, William, Prince of Wales, pledge my loyalty to you.
King Charles III never really seemed to be the warmest parent, as Prince Harry would attest. However, the King is apparently a much different uncle. Judy James told Express, "The body language dynamic between Zara and her uncle Charles has been giving joy for many years. If you were to place all the royals on some sliding scale of PDAs and tactile behaviour in public, you'd see Charles close to one end as a rather hands-off, stuffy-looking kind of a guy. Zara would sit firmly at the other end as the most spontaneous and gloriously gregarious-looking royal adult." The expert went on to explain that Zara doesn't change her behaviour towards Charles just because they're out in public, saying, "Instead, she seems intent on cutting through any formal stuff by instigating some very dominant-looking hugs that seem to both surprise and delight the King." At the Royal Ascot in 2019, Charles's body language when interacting with his niece showed us all just how much he enjoys Zara's company. James went on, "Charles is much more reserved in terms of his reciprocal signals, but his wide grins and his close-quarters eye contact suggests he's a very doting uncle to his sister's consistently upbeat and fun-looking daughter." Not unlike most siblings, King Charles III and Princess Anne haven't always seen eye to eye. While Anne inherited her parents' sense of level-headedness, Charles has always been more outwardly emotional, according to body language expert Judy James, who told Express, Charles grew up sandwiched between two remarkable women. Both his mother and his sister are hard-working, strong and stoic, with no outward signs of emotions like anxiety or self-doubt. Charles, on the other hand, has always shown signals that suggest self-pity and inner anguish. As Charles adopted a more academic approach to the life of a future king, Anne became a successful, no-nonsense sportswoman alongside her regular royal duties. However, by James's estimation, the king and the princess have gotten closer with time. A perfect example of this strengthened bond was on display at the Braemar Highland Gathering in 2022, where the royals were pictured laughing together.